That wasn't fun at all. I mean, there was 9 weeks of games that were a lot more fun to watch. Even a loss to Green Bay where A.J. Green still hasn't turned around and Rasul Douglas intercepted the football was a lot more entertaining than whatever the hell that was. The Arizona Cardinals, they fall 34-10 to the Carolina Panthers, and we're not holding back on this podcast. It's Bo Brock. It's Alex Clancy. Can the Cardinals get back on track after that dumpster fire of a performance? We're getting into it.
You are Locked On Cardinals, your daily Arizona Cardinals podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
This is where we make our money. This is actually where we make our money. If you've just started listening or watching Locked On Cardinals, you're like, yeah, this is a fun, enjoyable podcast. These guys have good banter. It shows up each and every day. We appreciate you enjoying that. But this is where we make our money. After the Arizona Cardinals have a brutal performance because we don't pull any punches. We're going to tell you just what we saw, what you saw, and we're not going to just try to sugarcoat things. Things are not always, sunshine and butterflies. So Alex and I, that's where we can really shine. Like covering this team, especially really starting this podcast in 2018, people talk about it. It's like the old quote from The Dark Knight Rises where Bane says, like, you adopted the darkness. We grew up in the darkness. This is what we know. Okay. So we can talk very strongly about it and very well about it. So the Cardinals lose 34-10 to the Carolina Panthers. This was a game, Alex, that was basically over after, was it 3 possessions?
Yeah. After the third play, I have a couple problems with your open. Number one,
okay.
I started in 2017, okay?
Okay.
I gave you the charity of letting you join with me because I knew that you wanted to and you were so jealous. Like, absolutely, Bo, come join me. And then the Cardinals went 3-13. I immediately regretted my decision. We've turned since then. Number two, I appreciate the Christopher Walken-ish impression that came in there during your Bane situation. Really enjoy that. There have been a lot worse times, as my lovely co-host mentioned. Yeah. These are champagne problems compared to what we've dealt with. First world problems compared to what we've dealt with covering the Cardinals. Okay? Absolutely. But this is par for the course for how the Cardinals prepared against the Carolina Panthers. Regardless of who was on the field, it didn't work. It didn't work. Yeah, third play, second play, third play, whatever it was, I've already blocked it out of my memory. You have DJ Humphries getting absolutely punished on the outside by pass rush. Colt McCoy fumbles, touchdown Cam Newton, and that was it. That was it. Okay? Cam Newton's not back. Cam Newton's not a good quarterback. Okay? Cam Newton's good at running the ball in from the 3-yard line. Okay? Just let's pump the brakes on that, how he's back. According to him, great leadership, saying I'm back, getting a taunting penalty or unnecessary, a 15-yard penalty after you score a touchdown. Way to go. But all in all, it was a bad performance. And this is one where, unless it's not a trend, Bo, they've lost 2 out of 3. They're going to Seattle in week 11, right before their bye week. If they can get a W, nobody's gonna remember this game. But if this is something that's starting to roll the snowball down to negative town, then we're gonna have big conversations all throughout the bye week when there's no game. But all in all, just a bad game today. If it's isolated incident, sweet, move on, win in Seattle, go into your bye.
Yeah, I think that there's a big group of Cardinals fans that are like, oh no, because as you mentioned, 2 out of 3. I mean, as we saw happen last year, this team came out of the gates. It was solid. It was 6-3, and it was up there as far as tops in the league as total yards, and it was producing offensively. And then the wheels just fell off. Are people saying, well, I feel a little burned by that team. I don't want to get burned again. I'm not Michael Scott, and I'm not ready to be hurt again just yet. I just can't. But and this is like, man, we appreciate everybody making Locked On Cardinals your first listen each and every morning. And this is why, because we've seen the bad teams and we know what the bad teams look like as far as the Cardinals go, and we know what the good teams look like. We covered the Bruce Arians era as well. So we know what a winning formula. What Sunday was, what we witnessed against the Carolina Panthers, nobody wins any kind of game like that. Like there's nothing, the ball doesn't break a certain way and you win those games. They just got dismantled in each and every facet of the game. It was offense, it was defense, it was special teams. Everything gets a check mark by the Carolina Panthers. Even the quarterback play, PJ Walker completely outplayed Colt McCoy. Colt McCoy was probably outplayed by 95% the NFL signal callers this week. Maybe even talk about that going forward. What's your confidence level and the Cardinals backup quarterback going forward? We hope Kyler Murray's ready to go. I mean, we thought he could potentially play today. So we'll see, what's going to happen going forward, and what are the things that could potentially linger from this loss that it just can't happen. They're going to really have to move forward off a stinker of a performance against Carolina. And I think it's 6 in a row. I think the Carolina Panthers are just that team against the Arizona Cardinals all of a sudden. Like, they're that team that you just, no matter what, you could throw the records out, they just seem to have success when they're playing against the red and white.
It's weird.
Yeah.
It's weird. And the the Cardinals have the Detroit Lions later this year. Hopefully that's not going to be the case with how they've with how bad they've played. Like, it doesn't make sense that the Cardinals play the Lions and the Panthers every year, it seems. But yeah, give me analysis and I'll tell you didn't know what the hell you were talking about before the game started. Like, there's nobody expected.
Well, tell the audience what Julian Council told us from Locked On Panthers. I mean, 3/4 of the game.
Julian Council is somebody, and this is with the utmost respect I say, because I say the same about me. And when you have a radio guy speechless, that's an anomaly. And Julian Council was speechless. Bo asked the question, how do the Panthers win this game? Julian Council went,
crickets.
And then he went into an answer. Like, so dude, I mean, like, and Julian even messaged us during the game. He's like, yeah,
I'm talking about.
Yeah. Like, there's no way I could have seen this with Cam when they signed him, because Cam Newton signed after we recorded the podcast. We recorded the podcast Wednesday afternoon for Thursday, and Cam Newton signed not 96 hours ago, and he scored 2 touchdowns. It was an actual game changer. So, like, this was a wonky game at home. The Cardinals still can't play at home. The team that I only feel worse than the Arizona Cardinals is the San Francisco 49ers, who got beat by this team last week. And look at what Carolina did to the Cardinals today. Like, if I'm San Francisco, I'm like, oh no, what are we looking at here if we just lost to a team that got this done to them by Carolina?
Yeah, and look out tonight. They're going against the Los Angeles Rams, who look like they're going to be pretty close to full strength. Even with the loss of Robert Woods, their wide receiver 2, they enter in Odell Beckham Jr. That's talk about champagne problems. Holy crap. But Cam Newton, that offense, I mean, that's probably the answer that Julian Council in hindsight would like to tell us, is this offense was going to be aided by the defense. The defense was going to create a turnover. It was going to get a turnover on downs. Cliff Kingsbury decides to go for it on 4th and 1, a QB sneak with Colt McCoy that goes nowhere, goes backwards basically, and it puts the Panthers offense in prime position to put more points on the board, and then immediately march the 40 yards that they needed, 40 plus yards down the field, and then Cam Newton's able to throw a strike to Robbie Anderson. Most quarterbacks with defenses having to worry about your rushing ability are probably going to give that play up. Let's get more into the contest. Colt McCoy was injured. He didn't finish the game. We saw Chris Streveler finish this game. We saw James Conner get his 11th rushing touchdown of the contest. We saw him probably get more carries than we would have liked to see in a fourth quarter that didn't matter. And then how the Arizona Cardinals can move off of this loss and get back on track where they were, playing with house money for the most part. Nobody expected them to be 8-1. Probably nobody expected them to be even 8-2. So you're still playing with house money. It's so important. Why it's so important to get back on track. We're getting into that. It's coming up. Locked On Cardinals, Bo Brack, Alex Clancy, part of your Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Got to tell you about DirecTV. It was great watching the game, because when you're watching a stinker of a game, it's important to be able to, especially during commercials, tune out. And I was able to do this with DirecTV Stream, because it takes your live events and then your on-demand favorites like TV shows or movies that you're watching. You can get right into them seamlessly. DirecTV Stream brings you live TV, on-demand favorites together like never before, which means you can bring your favorite sports, movies, and shows all to one place. And the best part, no annual contract. Stop waiting to get your TV together with DirecTV. You can learn more, directtv.com. That's directtv.com. Bo Brack, Alex Clancy. Follow us on Twitter at Bob Brack, at Clancy's Corner, at Locked On AZCards. Just went over 1,000 Twitter followers just the other day, and We continue to rise. Unbelievable. Appreciate everybody tuning in. Thank you to everybody who subscribes to our YouTube channel. We are on YouTube. If you haven't checked it out, great content there. You can put some ugly faces with our poor voices. It's just a deadly combination from Alex and myself. But the Arizona Cardinals just absolutely just got dog walked by the Carolina Panthers. There was just no redeeming qualities from this game. Was it a necessary loss, Alex? I mean, some people like to say, hey, sometimes you need to learn a lot about yourselves, and you can do that with a loss like this.
Oh, I hate that thing. I hate when people say that. It's so stupid.
I agree.
Like, oh, yeah, they needed this. No, I think it's dumb. Is it eye-opening? Sure. Is this Baltimore material for the rest of the season self-inflictedly? Sure. But, man, this is a time where, and I said it during the halftime show, and, I've gotten a lot of flack, and I don't think people wear that as a coat of armor, like it's something to get excited about. Oh, I've had so many people pissed off at me for this. That's not why I'm saying this. I'm saying it because I've questioned Cliff Kingsbury a lot more than others have, and obviously it's subsided over the last handful of weeks because the Cardinals' offense has been great. Take away San Francisco game where they won anyways. There are people who are enjoying as far as the Cardinals have gotten. And if they don't win, if they don't go 500 the rest of the year, they make the playoffs, everybody's happy. That's not the way to look at this. This is a marathon. You may be in the top 1% right now running the marathon, but there is a long way to go. So sure, enjoy the ride, but also understand that nothing is perfect. And this loss may loom large if the Cardinals again lose on Sunday. So looking at just the game today, sure, there are plenty of reasons as to why the Cardinals lost. No Kyler Murray, no DeAndre Hopkins, no J.J. Watt. Fine. The no J.J. Watt thing needs to go away. This needs to pivot more towards where's Chandler Jones and not why is J.J. What J.J. Watt is always injured. Chandler Jones has been a non-factor. He got the sack to be the all-time leader for the Arizona Cardinals last week. That's great. He has been an absolute and unadulterated non-factor since week one, comparatively speaking.
I think that's a fair criticism. No, absolute fair criticism, and you're happy that Michael Bidwell, Steve Keim did not, as the conflicting reports that hey he said it, get your checkbook out or whatever it may be that they didn't, that they're gonna play this thing out. It's gonna look more like the P3 Patrick Peterson scenario than it's gonna look with him getting a big lucrative guaranteed dollar extension at his age. And we're seeing that was more of a fluky one game thing instead of seeing the guy really just make an impact game in and game out. We're just not seeing it from Chandler Jones, and I think that's absolutely fair. Jordan Hicks, I thought there was a definitely against a guy like Christian McCaffrey, looked like Jordan Hicks of last year. You talk about the marathon. Is he a guy that's going to be able to keep up with his age? Is he going to be able to kind of keep that spryness that he showed earlier? They're like, oh man, I'm glad that the Arizona Cardinals kept Jordan Hicks. The Arizona Cardinals, if anything is taken away from this contest that could linger, that could potentially be, something, a big problem going forward, is their inability to slow down the run and putting the opposing offense, or letting the opposing offense be in second and third and manageable, because that's where they've been very successful. And I think that's one of those things that they're going to have to fix, and they're going to have to fix it quick. I know that the Seahawks offense struggled mightily against the Green Bay Packers, but it's not going to struggle the entire way out for the remainder of the 2021 season. Russell Wilson's going to get healthier. They're going to get back on track at some point. You better not hope it's against the Arizona Cardinals on defense. The Arizona Cardinals finally, Alex, they finally have a bad loss on their resume for this season. Last week. Go ahead. I mean, I think the Rams, they had one against the Tennessee Titans. They had one against the Arizona Cardinals. You had the Green Bay Packers. They had theirs to open up the season against the Saints. They had one without Aaron Rodgers in the lineup last weekend. You've got, there's just we saw one earlier today. Why can't I think? It was another one for Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay had another bad loss.
Washington.
But yeah, one of the things is, though, like Tampa Bay, that their focus is getting this team geared up for the right time of year. Like, they know what the most important time of the season is. First 9 games where you can go 8-1. Sure, that's great because you can set yourself up and position yourself and, tweak your roster and rest some guys and maybe give your quarterback an extra week off instead of pushing him out there. Not saying that happened, but they're going to be focused, and you can probably rely on that fact that they're going to be ready to go when the lights get a little bit brighter in the NFL postseason. The Arizona Cardinals need to do the same thing.
Yeah, agreed. I mean, they've beat a lot of good teams this year. And it's just the NFL's such a mind screw, because they need to be in a position, as you mentioned, to be a force going into the playoffs, not back into the playoffs. Like we saw, they started 6-3 last year. Okay. They started 6-3 last year. So when you finish 8-8 and you start to see, like, my buddy texted me today and he's like, I am starting to just get this feeling that things are starting to go wrong, because that's what you're used to seeing from the Arizona Cardinals. Kyler Murray didn't play. DeAndre Hopkins didn't play. Nobody really got in. Like Colt McCoy was pulled by the end of the game. I don't know if it was a tight game. I don't know if he would have gone back to the locker room, or if they would be like, you know what, you're down 3 scores, bring Strevler in there to bring it home. But all in all, there wasn't any huge sort of injury concern. They got out unscathed pretty much in that regard. So everything you're saying is right. I feel like the litmus test for the second half of the season will be going to Seattle, playing in front of a rabid fan base. And if they can get a W there and ride into their bye week, we're going to forget about this game.
Yeah.
As something of consequence.
Right.
Because
And that would be continuing to change this narrative that surrounded this organization for so long. Like, they couldn't beat LA, right? They changed that. They shouldn't, they can't, going into last year's season open, they shouldn't have beat the San Francisco 49ers. All these different things. Like, this was the first hiccup. This was the one was like, oh, they're not going to lose to Carolina. Carolina is trending in the complete opposite direction than the Arizona Cardinals. They're going to be fine. And, that wasn't the case. It looks like it was a pec injury for Colt McCoy. Mm-hmm. And those can end seasons potentially. We'll see what happens with that. That would be, look, as far as Colt McCoy, the starter, that doesn't, you're like, okay, well, you don't want to see that happen very much more than we've already seen it, 2 games. But Colt McCoy, the backup, that would be a huge loss for the Arizona Cardinals if he can't go anymore. He did injure his pec, and he went right into the tent. I mean, it was after the injury, he went right into the tent, and he's got an injured pec. We'll see. That's something to kind of follow going forward for the Arizona Cardinals. The next step in this thing is like, you're not out of the woods. Like, you might not be the team that you were last year, where things completely collapsed and the wheels fell off, but you could be last year's Pittsburgh Steelers, and that was the last team. That was the last undefeated team, and they didn't get any better after they started losing, and they limped into the postseason, and they absolutely got just worked by a division opponent that they'd seen for the 3rd time, the Cleveland Browns, in the wild card round. You have to avoid that. You have to really start to gear your roster up and get back on track and make the proper adjustments to avoid that type of fate. It's just so important for Cliff Kingsbury and crew, because people are going to come back out with pitchforks if things go south again.
For sure. Agreed.
Bo Brack, Alex Clancy, Locked On Cardinals, part of your Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Alex, one thing could cheer you up from the poor performance on Sunday. That's for sure.
It's not watching the game again. That's for sure.
No.
It's not. Don't do that. It's Built Bar, man. If you haven't tried a Built Bar by now, you're missing out. I love when people tweet us. Just had somebody follow me on Instagram, one of our listeners who has pictures of Built Bar, as pictures that he's posted on his profile. Fantastic. Built Bar is the best tasting protein bar on the planet, or the healthiest candy bar on the planet. We've talked about this a lot. They're not eating chalk or biting the side of a wall. They're all chocolate covered. They taste fantastic. Some of the flavors: coconut raspberry, mint brownie, coconut almond, salted caramel, double chocolate, cherry barcia, etc. This whole month, they're coming out with a limited time flavor every 3 to 4 days. 18 grams of protein, less than 5 grams of sugar, high fiber, low calorie. Go to Built.com. Use promo code LOCKED15 for 15% off your first box. Go to Built.com. Use promo code LOCKED15 to get 15% off your first order at Built.com, Bo.
The Arizona Cardinals did not cover. They were 10-point favorites going into the contest. Before that, It slid a little bit to 7, I believe. And then, they lost outright. If you're a
5,000.
smart person and you went Panthers money line, congratulations. But that's the last I want to hear from you. And don't gloat about your W's, because it's a humbling experience betting. And that's why you need a good, smart, safe place to do so. And BetOnline is your number one spot for betting football, basketball, all that action this season. Head over to the new updated desktop mobile website. Sign up today. Receive a 50% welcome bonus. Just use the promo code Locked On. It's one word. And you'll get 50% on top of your initial deposit. You put in $100, you get $50 free to help build your stack during the college basketball season. Get ready for March Madness. Continue to build your stack for the NFL postseason. Bet online from basketball, football, NHL, boxing, UFC, the big fight the other night, Vegas casino games. Don't wait to take advantage of their amazing offers that are all available for the 2021 season. Bet online, the fastest, easiest way to bet on all your favorite sports. Bet online, where the game starts. It's Bo Brock, Alex Clancy, Locked On Cardinals. Thanks for making us your first listen each and every day. Really appreciate that. We started doing things a little bit differently after the game. We're doing a post-game reaction show, so you're getting even more content from us. It's not like we're taking away anything. We're just adding on. And so we do the halftime show. That's each and every Arizona Cardinals game. And then we do the post-game show. That's after each game. We're doing about 10, 12, 15 minutes. It just depends on how much we have to talk about. We wanted to kind of cut it short because it was such a disgusting display of football that we kind of ingested on Sunday. So it was a little shorter, but that's what you can get each and every Cardinals game. And then, of course, we'll have our Monday podcast, Monday through Friday. Our YouTube shows, they're going to premiere each morning at 10 a.m. So subscribe, set yourself up for alerts each and every time we drop content. It'll come right to your smart device. So Seahawks lost. You got the big matchup between the Rams and the Niners. Despite, the good thing is this thing only, the loss to the Carolina Panthers, Alex, only cost is 1. Cardinals are 8-2. If they can't get back on track, like this is not something that's going to derail the Arizona Cardinals from achieving what they wanted to achieve. Like they woke up Sunday and they're like, okay, we're in the driver's seat to win the NFC West and contend for a playoff bye in the NFC. And I don't think even with as bad as things looked on Sunday, that those goals are out the window.
No. Again, like this is as close to a first world problem loss as an NFL team can have. You get one. And this is the one. And it's about how teams bounce back. We can't have this, this conversation cannot be had again if we're going to talk about them as being a 1 or 2 seed in the NFC. Tampa Bay it was a weird game. It was on the road. Tom Brady's not always greatest on the road. The Rams, if the Rams go into San Francisco and just shellac them, there's going to be the Cardinals in the power rankings will drop to 5. It doesn't matter what the record is.
Oh yeah,
they don't have any room for error according to national media, so they're going to drop significantly. And it's funny how you always get excuses for other organizations. Them not having Kyler Murray is not going to be an excuse. It's not going to be a reason.
Yeah, unfortunately,
because they don't get the benefit of the doubt. So they need to look at this. So you know what? Bad loss, tough loss. Move the hell on. And we continue to say the same things over and over and over again. You don't need to look at the numbers here. The Cardinals were on the field for 37 minutes on defense. That's enough. You're not going to win. And when you give what the offense has done a lot better this year is not given the defense to play defense on short fields. They did this somewhat last year, bad turnovers in bad situations. More times than not, the offense is taking care of the ball enough to not put the defense in a bad spot. 2 series in a row, the Cardinals put the defense in a bad spot, and that was it. This was different than the Minnesota game. There was no Kyler Murray. You don't have your ace up your sleeve with an offense. It's very, very limited. It's got a very low ceiling. And this is where we're at.
They didn't have a quarterback that could throw the ball beyond, the sticks. Colt McCoy really couldn't throw the football. There was one throw to Christian Kirk where he just couldn't get enough zip on it. That would have been a first down throw. Kyler Murray makes that throw in his sleep. Like that's the biggest difference in this offense. And, and that's just really simplifying thing. Like Kyler Murray in this offense, it's not even close. I think that this is one thing that will, the Colt McCoy truthers that would believe like, hey, this offense is going to miss that big of a beat. Like last week was all nice and it was fun to watch and it was a big win for this organization. But the Cardinals are in trouble, no doubt about it. If Kyler Murray goes out again, it's important that he gets back on track. Also, got to consider Chase Edmonds was out of the game. You got to, I got to say, as far as my takeaways for this, the rush defense needs to improve. The pass rush needs to get more pressure. And then also we need to see more from Zach Ertz.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like he flashed a little bit. He flashed a little bit, but the game was
like that was, it was already kind of in hand. Zach Ertz in this contest had 4 catches for 46 yards, and it's kind of been a similar performance outside of the one big 47-yard touchdown grab. It's kind of been on par with what he's done. I'd like to see him get more up to speed with this offense and be more of a guy. Anything else from you, like what you want to see from this, or any bad performances that could linger?
Well, I mean, Chandler Jones. Yep. Just to circle back. I mean, he's just not.
What about the rushing attack, though? What do you think? Do you think James Conner is going to be enough?
Yeah, I mean, I think the thing is that early on, the play calling was they go down 14, they throw the ball and first down every time.
Yeah,
it's like it takes. So if you throw an incomplete pass on first down, second down is most likely, usually, a running down to get some of that chunk yard back, and the defense is going to know that, so they're going to stack the box. So you can look at the stat line and say, you know what, they didn't run the ball effectively. Well, most teams need to run the ball to set up the pass. And when the Cardinals don't go down 14 before they know the game started, it kind of throws that out the window. Like you can have a game plan around it, but I mean, Cliff Kingsbury decided, you know what, we're going to throw ourselves back into this game with a backup quarterback, and it didn't work. This defense is good. And what we saw from Carolina's defense today was when the offense can perform, the defense that's good, that's not on the field for 35 minutes a game, can perform better. This is how it's supposed to work. The offense is supposed to help the defense by staying on the field for more than 22 flipping minutes in a game.
Yeah.
And 17 or whatever, 14 of those were in the second half. So they didn't win this. They didn't win the time of possession battle in either half.
What are your biggest concerns? Leave us a comment, of course, along with this YouTube video. We'll look for it. We might pin it if it's a good comment. Of course, we appreciate everybody subscribing to the Locked On Cardinals YouTube page. Thank you for following along on Twitter at Locked On AZCards, at Clancy's Corner, and at Bob Brack to follow me, Bo Brock. Appreciate everybody tuning in. That's going to wrap it up. What are you shaking your head for?
Yuck. It's just like I feel dirty after watching that game.
Go take a hot shower, man.
Go take a hot shower.
Rinse yourself with this game. Hopefully the Arizona Cardinals, they've got the 24-hour rule with this game too. Lots of bad film that they're going to be looking at. But hopefully by the time this team hits the practice field again, Kyler Murray will be a full go. No more limited practices or anything. He'll just be a green light the rest of the way and ready to go up to Seattle and take down the Sea Chickens, Russell Wilson and squad. We'll see. But a bad one, 34-10. This was our reaction podcast. Bo Brock, Alex Clancy. We'll be back with you. A brand new Locked On Cardinals podcast tomorrow on Tuesday, 10 a.m. The YouTube premieres, but you can grab the pod wherever you listen to podcasts at midnight. Have a great rest of your Monday. We'll talk to you on Tuesday.